Hi friends, we are Dads and Daddies, a podcast about the lives and times of adult gay men in the here and now. I'm Brian Rubin Sowers, a married dad of two.
And I am Judson Morrow, a resident daddy. Join us for frank conversations and personal stories of sex, love, relationships, parenthood, daddyhood, addiction, and so much more.
Find us on Instagram at Dads and Daddies Pod and listen to new episodes every Tuesday on all major platforms.
I don't know. They're completely, absolutely.
This was your second try, I want to remind you. This is your second go at this sentence.
And this is Gaytriarchs. So, David, how about that debate last night?
Oh, I was like, what are you talking about?
How could you possibly say, what are you talking about based upon how about the debate last night?
Because it's 10:49 a.m. on Tuesday. It is not Wednesday. And we are no longer lying to our listener. We are not recording this afterwards.
I was texting with a friend about, basically saying a prayer on behalf of Kamala. And I was like, dear Cher on earth and Judy in the sky, please let her be smart enough but not too smart, strong enough but not too strong, and charming enough but not too charming, so she doesn't scare America, which is afraid of women, and let her demean herself just enough so we can get her over the finish line and she can change the world for all women for all time and basically, change the course of history. Please.
Just the narrowest needle to thread, like what you were saying, because it's so true. But also, you're like, throw some of his shade back at him, but not too much to look like a fucking bitch. And it's just like, I don't know how she's going to do it. I will not be watching, and here's why. I will tell you why.
Really?
Because the one between Hillary and Trump scared me in such a foundational way of the world of like, if this goes wrong, do I literally have to flee this country? I was also watching Handmaid's Tale at the time, which is
this is a comedy. You're taking it down already.
Sorry, but it's the same thing here where I'm like if this goes horrible, kind of like the other one did, I'm gonna have to start planning about it. But anyway, last night, great, huh? She did great.
She was she threaded the needle like we knew she would.
I want to just mention, Gavin and I often talk offline when we're planning the show and we're talking about things. And he said something the other day that made me laugh so hard. We were going over the download stats. We were looking, we can see when our listener, listener, we know where you are, we know what device you're using, but also we can see, every day who downloads what episodes. And we were just talking about how many people had downloaded this particular episode in the morning, like early in the morning, because our episodes release at 6 a.m. Eastern time. And Gavin's response was, who are these people? Don't they have something better to do?
Which I suppose is setting us up. Let's talk about a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is thrilling to know that hopefully we are titillating somebody out there. And it's nice that people download right away.
Our one listener. And with that, we are making a little bit of an announcement here. We here at Gaytriarchs
are going by.
We're going by. We're bi-curious, and we're also going bi-weekly, at least through the end of the year. We produce this podcast ourselves. We make a lot of dollar on this show. But
you listener,
it is a ton of work, and we think we'd rather have fewer episodes that are better, or at least medium, than just keep pumping out every week. So through the end of the year, through 2024, we're going to be going bi-weekly. We're still going to be bringing you the same mediocre content by the same mediocre comedians.
From America's most trustworthy news source.
We had asked you last episode, I believe, or that maybe it's the episode previous, please, send us your ideas, reach out, communicate, interact, just basically asking for you guys to send us stuff and interact. And we appreciate those of you who did. And I especially appreciate whichever listener asshole out there signed us, GaytriarchsPodcast, up for OurTime.com, which is a seniors dating website. and named us Anne. So we get emails every day where Anne has matches because GaytriarchsPodcast is now a member of our time. So whatever listener out there did that, fucking hilarious.
Well, apparently this person, per your earlier topic of who are these people and don't they have something better to do, apparently this person did have something better to do and signed us up. So that's brilliant. That's hilarious. Thanks.
Really funny. I will give you that. That's if it's comedy, we're all for it.
Yep, we are all for it. Speaking of comedy, it's 9/11.
I knew that transition was coming, and it still hurt me. Yeah, it is 9/11.
It is 9/11.
Which is weird.
What's your brief? Where were you? Yeah, first of all, wait. I have to say that the thing that makes me think about 9/11 right now is that my children think of it. They know about 9/11. I don't think your kids do yet, but they study 9/11 like it is what? Ancient history.
I mean, it is.
It is. I mean, when I think about the perspective of like, I grew up, not in World War II, but World War II was such truly ancient history because it was 40 years in the past. Now, 9/11 is only 24 years in the past. Wait,
23 years. No.
23 years. Sorry. No. I do math. And, but of course, to a little kid who it is ancient history. So my kids talk about it and they're like, yeah, whatever. I mean, but they do ask me, what were you doing on that day? And which is, important discussions to be had, but still it's ancient history to them, which is just bizarre.
It is. And it's always weird because it's just another marker of saying how old you are. Because we all remember our parents being like, oh, the blah, 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 blah. And you're like, that's so old, you old piece of shit. And now we're the old pieces of shit. Embarrassingly, I was in college and I was in a tanning bed. And it was very early in the morning, and I was a grown-ass man living in Florida, going to college in a tanning bed. And for those of you who don't know what I look like, I am white. I have blonde hair. I have pale skin.
There's so many things to pick apart here.
There's no reason my Blanco ass should be in a tanning bed.
When you live in Florida, can't you just walk outside for 15 minutes and do the same thing and save yourself $32.50?
Sure can.
Okay.
But was I doing it? No. So I was in a tanning bed and I was the first customer that it was like, it was like 9 a.m. and the door's open and I pop right in there and I come out and she has the TV on and she's like, oh, I think something weird has happened in New York City or whatever. But it was just so funny because when everyone goes like, where were you? I was like, I was in a fucking tanning bed in Tallahassee, Florida.
Life changed in those 20 minutes that you gave yourself skin cancer.
And I turned on, went home and I turned on the news and I was watching it. And I had a what are they called? The rewind cameras, what are they called?
A rewind camera? A GoPro?
No, where you like pull the a throwaway camera, like a throwaway camera.
A point and shoot?
No, like
a disposable camera.
Disposable. This was two old people trying to come up with the word of the thing. Yes, it was a disposable camera. I took pictures of the television on a disposable camera that I had to get printed at a print shop. In case you're wondering how old I was. So,
you were that
wild
years old. Oh,
absolutely.
Do you still have those pictures?
I still have those pictures.
Why do you think you did that?
Because I was watching when the second plane hit, and I remember taking a picture of that particular moment that they kept replaying. Yeah. Because they had video footage of it, and I have photos of that. It's in a box somewhere in my mom's house. Where were you?
I was waiting tables that day in New York. I had just moved to New York.
Wow.
I'm just a little older than you. And but I worked at a restaurant called the Atlantic Grill that I think is still there at 77th and 3rd. Or no, actually, I think it's gone. But anyway, 77th and 3rd. And so I was waiting tables at they gave me the outdoor cafe that day. We were short staffed, so I had to do two sections, and one of them was the outdoor cafe. And I'm like, nobody's going to come to the outdoor cafe to eat here. This is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But because I was outdoors, I saw the streaming of people walking north on 3rd Avenue. So that was surreal, obviously. Yeah. Seeing, no traffic, no cars, just people walking. And the cafe was packed. And people were drinking. So needless to say, for a waiter, you're like, I'm actually going to make a fair amount of money today.
Is that the message you want to bring out into the world? Was that 9/11 was fiscally beneficial to you?
And I donated all of it to the firefighters fund immediately the next day. Anyways.
But I think what's interesting from our podcast point of view is like, how do you talk about it with your kids who have no concept of that? We like when people talk about Vietnam War or any of this kind of stuff, it strikes nothing emotional in me. And the thing that's hard to explain to them is like a time where information wasn't at your fingertips, where you couldn't see things in real time and you just heard rumors and you had to piece together information. And the feeling of we don't know what's happening and not knowing what's happening in the world was such a terrifying, and that's hard to translate to children who was like, well, just look online. What's going on online? Yeah, totally. So that's going to be a hard thing to do. Also, my kids are so young. It's going to be weird to talk about planes flying into buildings and then us get on a plane somewhere and not, you know what I mean? So I think I'm going to hold off for a while. But your kids are older. They're studying it, you said.
No, luckily my kids don't think about it or talk about it, except in passing and like, where were you? Which they've done many times. And they don't have any anxiety about getting on planes. In fact, they're just completely desensitized to general violence around the world because they live in 2024 where there are things like school shootings and terrible things on TV. Anyway, let's reframe that. You have had a huge week, right? Because
we have all had a huge week. Yeah. We've all had a huge week, but me specifically, yes. I have my first school age, I guess, child. My son went to kindergarten this past week for the first time, and it was is just a big change in our lives. So I wanted to talk about it. Oh, what we haven't mentioned to our listener yet is we have no guest this week.
Oh, right.
We had a last minute cancellation of our guest, and that is totally fine. But we were like, let's record an episode anyway. Let's give the people what they didn't ask for and just talk even longer.
And we get to name it The One with Nobody.
The One with Nobody.
Unironically.
So. Or The One with Nobodies, you and I, basically. But yeah, so I wanted to talk about all of our you and I's first day of school for this year. So my kid started kindergarten this year, and you and I had talked about this a couple episodes ago. I wasn't nervous about it. I was slightly nervous about him being made fun of, but I was like, yeah, whatever, like, let's do this. And so we go, and the first day you have to go and you meet the teacher and you get in lines, and it's all outside the building, and it's this big, big thing. And they have all these, it's meant to be very, upbeat and fun, and they have picture taking stations or whatever. And my son woke up and he was like, I want to go to kindergarten, and he was so excited, and he was picking out his outfit, and we thought, because my kid is mostly fragile and nervous and stuff like that. And so we get there and he's super happy, and we're looking at all these other kids, and then his teacher comes and he meets his teacher for the first time, and she's super nice, and we're all just hanging out. And then they go, okay, everyone, last hugs, and then we're gonna go in by lines. Miss my teacher's class, you're first. And so we give him a big hug, and that's when the tears, just immediate tears. I felt the squeeze of his hands on my shorts, that he was like, I don't want to go. I'm like, yes, you'll be great. We do all the things. And the kids are now gone. The line is moved. He's the only one having a meltdown, and we have to have an administrator come down and take him out. And it's always hard to have a person peel your sobbing child off of you.
Yeah, of course.
And then they walk into the building.
Uh-huh.
And then that was it. And it was a weird thing to kind of be like, you are now out of my sight in a building I've never seen with people I don't know. I don't know how this day works, because back to school night isn't for a couple of weeks. And it was a little unsettling in that way. Also, it was unsettling in a way of being gay dads, right? We're in this big courtyard with all the other kids and all the other parents, and we are the only gay dads there. It's very obvious. And so I'm aware that other people might be aware.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm doing that math. That
completely overthinking it entirely. And
100%. I'm totally overthinking it.
They might clock it, but be like, oh, cool.
Maybe, but then I'm like, does anybody care? Should I make note of that? Like, you have to run those simulations in your head as gay parents, because you need to know who's friendly, who's not friendly. And my husband and I are always very overt about being like, oh, this is my husband. This is my husband, to make sure they know what's going on.
You virtue signal to put everybody at ease, because they're questioning it. They're questioning it, so you just kind of state it and then you move on. Yeah.
And we're the only gay dads here. But I will say there was a teacher there, and we never talked to him, but he was, helping corral the traffic or whatever. And he had a lanyard. They all had lanyards that had their names on it, but his lanyard had a rainbow thing on it.
Look at that.
And so he was very obviously gay, because he was fit and unhappy. So but he had a lanyard and had a rainbow on it, and I assumed that meant either that he was gay and or I am a safe place for gay students or whatever. And that made me very happy that is something he prominently was displaying, and that I kind of wanted to go up to him and be like, hey, you're gay, I'm gay. Cool, right?
Right.
And then he'd look at me like I'm a crazy person.
A little fist bump action there of like of the virtue signaling, in which case it's really important to be able to state that out there and make everybody feel good.
And so day 2 and now forever, he gets to ride the bus, which so many people have been like, he's riding the bus? Like they look at it like this substandard, oh my God, I can't believe you let your child be on the bus. And I'm like,
really?
that gives me like an extra 30 minutes every day.
Absolutely. Buses are, thank goodness for the busing system, first of all. Yeah. And those drivers, just like the teachers, are not paid enough, that's for sure. And that's why we have a busing crisis across the country, because we would rather buy submarines and aircraft carriers rather than pay teachers and bus drivers. But riding that bus, man, it gives you extra time. And my kids, who, of course, they were so thrilled to ride a bus when they first started going to school here in Connecticut. And so excited, but that wore off pretty quickly. And they were suddenly like, can you just drive us now? And they were just getting lazy. And I'm like, oh, hell no. I have tasted the fruits of freedom, and you are getting on that bus for sure.
And I expected, like the first day, tears. Like, oh my God, I don't want to go. Who's on this bus? I don't know anybody, whatever. This motherfucker, that bus pulled up, he went, bye, and just plopped right on up the bus and was so excited. And so the last bit of my giant monologue is the end of the first day. My husband and I are just like, on pins and needles, because of course we don't have an app anymore. Yep. We don't have photos. We don't have no idea what's going on all day. Yep. He's just disappeared from our lives.
He has absolutely become a tool of the vast public school industrial complex, and he's going to be brainwashed, and you won't know this child when he comes home.
And so when we go to pick him up, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to hear everything. I'm going to hear everything. I'm going to hear what his teachers look like. Yeah. So we pick him up. He's happy to see us. We get in the car. I'm like, okay, tell us everything. And he was like, it was fine. And I was like, okay, well, tell me more. What does your teacher look like? And so finally, like 3 questions in, he goes, Dad, can you stop asking me questions? And I was like, but I want to know. He's like, yeah, I don't want to keep talking anymore. And I went, it was a moment where I went, this was the turn. Yeah. This was it, where he's like, I don't give a fuck. I had a fine day. I know, just you wait. But I'm here. I waited, and now I'm here. Yep. And I'm very disappointed, because he probably held an alligator today, and I have no idea. He also lied to his teacher and said he dropped his lunch, and so his teacher would buy him lunch with pizza and chocolate milk, and he comes home with a full meal. I said, what happened? And I got it out of him. He totally fucking lied. Well, so I've got a liar and a con artist.
Yeah, I mean, that is so relatable and universal. And I don't even know all the ways that my kids are lying to me, frankly, all the time, but it definitely happens. I mean, yesterday, it just a week or so into school, I had a kid stay home from school. Unfortunately, my son stayed home, and it was one of those like, are we really doing this? He should have gone, but I'll get back to why we kind of justified it later. But I'm like, okay, well, I mean, if you're going to stay, that's fine. You need to take care of yourself, and you need to lay in bed and read books the entire time. You get no screen time.
As we know, you make their lives miserable if they're going to stay home.
I make sick days as miserable as possible. And at 8 a.m., he was fine with that. And by 8:14, he was not fine with that. And I fully caught him on his iPad, and I bolted into his room, and he hid that thing under his blanket so quickly and had that look on his face like, what are you talking about?
Yes,
what are you talking about? Yes. And then he said, well, Tati, that's what my partner's called. Well, Tati said that I could go on my iPad now. And I later verified with him, and he was like, oh, hell no, I didn't say that. I did not say that. But anyway, he did spend an awful lot of the time reading, and he played piano during the day. So he didn't piss me off too much. But anyway, so yeah, we are fully in school. I mean, I think I've actually talked about it a little bit, but I have a first-time middle schooler who he's, my super mellow child, but I know that he was nervous to get on the bus because he heard that they were the older kids there, and he was afraid of them. But and
middle school is full of animals. I mean, those people, I remember that being the most terrifying schooling of my life. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, those people out there that how do you get through middle school, and how do people teach it? I mean, but were you seized with anxiety every day that you went, or do you just look back on it and be like, wow, Trevor Foster was in that hallway with me, and I can't believe I breathed the same air as that guy. I was so afraid of him, but I did it.
Every day I was terrified to walk because I just was I was like an animal being waiting to be attacked. I just remember like constant, scream faggot and like just aggressive boys, and I was this little faggoty boy, and so they were right, honestly, to call me that. But like I just remember, my memory is every day just being miserable.
Yeah.
No.
Wow. I think I deluded myself. Anyway, whatever. This is not a therapy session. So so I will say that my daughter was all kinds of excited about the first day of school. And so she set her alarm for 5:15, which was a full 35 or 40 minutes before she really needed to get up. And what did she do? She went downstairs to get her phone and a Celsius. Now, you might recall, I say no Celsius in the household, 200 milligrams of caffeine.
That's insane.
Even though I'm on my third cup of coffee right now.
Yeah. Cheers.
But she went down to get her Celsius, and she was going to be on her phone. And you know what? I chose my battles. And I was like, I'm going to look the other way, especially because it's 5:15 and don't get me up right now. Mm-hmm. But also I felt like I was wussing out by not being up with her. So I did actually get up at that time and kind of checked in on her. And I'm like, are you really having Celsius? She goes, Dad, I'm not going to drink the whole thing. I'm not crazy. And indeed, she sipped a quarter of it. Have you ever tasted a Celsius?
No, I mean, I'm sure it's disgusting.
It's a melted Jolly Rancher, even worse than a Red Bull. So anyway, she did that, but she was really excited, really, really excited. And for a girl to be excited to go to middle school, I think is actually pretty awesome. And then at the end of the day, I had 9 million questions just like you. And by the third question, when I was like, well, how is everybody? Was there any drama? She's like, whatever, it's all the same people and they're all just as annoying as they were last year. I'm like, okay. And then ultimately, my son, who is not used to getting up that early, he had an entire week where we were pushing him. I mean, not pushing him. He had to go to school. And then a tough weekend. And then ultimately he woke up. I think it was just sheer exhaustion yesterday, and his stomach hurt and his head hurt and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, maybe we need to tamp down on the weekend activities and make sure that he gets to bed. He might be in 6th grade, but we're like, nah, bedtime 8 a.m. This is so boring hearing me talk about putting my kids to bed at 8 a.m. But he was just fully exhausted. So that is how I look back on last week's first full week of school.
I will say that the kind of saddest parenting transition moment for me was, both of my kids used to go to the same preschool. So they're both in the car. I drive them, pick up. And now they're in 2 different buildings. So I drop one off at the bus. And then now it's just me and my daughter in the car going to the preschool. And that ride is so quiet now in a good way. And also because they're not fighting and yelling at each other for whatever and arguing over who gets to play what song. But there was a sad kind of it's just me and her, and she was just looking out the window. And I was just like, oh man, this is such a sad thing.
Yeah. I know that silence. And boy, my partner so many times this summer, as I would complain about my daughter, he would say, listen, we got 5 more years with her, and that 5 years is going to go real fast. And boy, is it going to be a quiet household then. So let's keep it light, shall we?
Yes. Speaking of light, one of our former guests reached out, and they were Brett Mason, who was on our. God, I have no idea what episode that was.
That was
probably look it up.
A couple dozen ago. That's for
a couple dozen
ago. Brett, I'm sure
Hi, Brett.
Today, you're a listener, right?
Yeah, Brett is our listener. He has a counseling service called Expanding Your 2S LGBTQIA plus Family, Exploring Options. And so they're doing one of their classes. I believe it's on September 17th and also on November 14th. So they wanted to have us reach out and tell everyone, especially if you're in the Canadian wilderness, which is where they live amongst their chickens.
Lots of chickens.
But I think they do a virtual class too. So go find Brett Mason Counseling on Instagram.
It could be a very welcoming, non-judgmental place to get a little bit of 101, just mental therapy right there. That would be helpful for everybody.
Also, Brett used an article about gay flamingos as the cover page for this thing that they're offering. So that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. And also, Brett is fully stealing from my page because guess what? We're getting into gay dad news. All right. So, and guess what? Another couple are biting the dust. Remember the saga of John Deere and
Why is this a story that never ends?
It's
like,
not
what is
ending
going
because
on?
that Starbucks dude who claims to be a movie producer keeps going after companies that he very explicitly says they tend to have like a conservative audience. He's now gone for Coors, and Coors folded, which also reminds me of, I grew up in a super labor related household. My dad was a labor attorney, and growing up in Colorado, the Coors, there was some big union. Coors went on strike in the, late 70s or early 80s or something. And my dad had this t-shirt that was basically boycott Coors, but they turned the O's into swastikas.
Oh, wow.
And it was a t-shirt that I just remember from my childhood. It was memorable, and I kept the t-shirt more as a memento than anything else. And our mutual friend and obviously listener, Ellen Marsh, one time came across that t-shirt, and she's like, why are there swastikas in your house? And I don't even think of them as swastikas. I just think of it as my dad's t-shirt. Anyway, that's creepy and weird. But
your dad was a member of the Nazi party. Cool. Moving on. But wait, isn't Coors like, isn't that like lesbians' like number one choice of beer?
Probably.
Right?
Let's go back and ask two ladies, two babies.
Yeah.
Although she was more White Claws and beer.
That's right.
Anyway. So Coors has now bitten the dust, unfortunately. Guess what? So has Ford. Ford, the, megalopoly, has taken away all of their DEI stands, and they're like, we're just going to do everything based on merit and not actually be part of pride parades and not contribute to the community, because they have folded to this Joe Starbuck guy. Now under the gun, or in the the crosshairs, is Stanley Black & Decker. That is a Connecticut-based company. I see you. They're being attacked, but they haven't folded yet. And they are a company based in Connecticut that makes tools, obviously, it's obviously a mega corporation. They have 4 or 5 divisions, Stanley and Black & Decker and a bunch of others. And they have not fallen yet. And so Starbucks is going after them. And let's hope, hey, anybody at Stanley Black & Decker, you want to come on the podcast and tell us why you believe that it is important to take people's identity into your hiring practices and support the LGBTQ plus community.
Why does the caramel macchiato guy want to get rid of all of this stuff? Like, what's the point for him?
Because he's probably getting YouTube clicks and being paid by other corporations.
Right.
But he's a super political guy who wants to fight what he sees as wokeism. And he thinks that that companies, he's justifying it by saying they should just be thinking about their bottom line and their customers, not their hiring practices or their commitment to social justice. So
yeah, well, it's also it's the privileged point of view of saying like, it should always be about merit and ignoring how anyone got anywhere. Yeah. Okay. Got
totally.
it. Yep.
So anyway, Stanley, Black & Decker, stay strong. I bet I'm asking our listener to tweet at you, and I bet we're going to take on Joe Starbuck ourselves.
Let's do it.
Can that be our new mission?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. Anyway, so speaking of flamingos, hey Brett, shout out. I bet Brett was actually referencing Curtis and Arthur.
Yes, Curtis and Arthur.
Oh, yeah. They are 2 flamingos, males, who teamed up at the Paynton Zoo in Devon, Gloucester, England, and they hatched an egg, and they are currently fostering a baby flamingo.
That's the liberal agenda right there.
Totally.
Making flamingos gay.
But also, as if they weren't already.
Right? They're like in Releve wearing pink all day. I mean, come on.
But what's also hilarious to me about that is that the zookeepers are like, this isn't news. Like, this happens all the time, particularly in the bird kingdom, apparently. But it's not a big deal, but still, let's celebrate Curtis and Arthur. Congrats, guys. And then finally,
when are peacocks coming out? Wait, can we stop? Because if we talk about like which birds are the gayest, it's like, oh, penguins, they're gay, they're raising eggs. You're like, penguins are just like, they don't seem very gay. Peacocks are arguably the gayest and like bird. Like, when are they going to come out? Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, also in the avian world, it's always the males that are the flamboyant ones, right? Because they get to be pretty, and the poor females are like dressed in brown all the time, right? Or the woodpecker. Like, that's a gay animal if you've ever asked me. Anyway, sorry, moving on. Please. So speaking of woodpecker, sort of, and flamboyance, do you know the names Clara Devine and Monique Toussoon? I do not. Well, they're 2 drag queens in New Hampshire who are now
rich. There was a Republican state house member who was introducing a bill that was, of course, about like library safety. And obviously this is going out after the Drag Queen Story Hour. And he specifically name checked them. Let me name check him, by the way. His name is David Love.
Ironically.
The irony.
Yeah.
He was name checking these two queens, Clara Devine and Monique Too Soon. And guess what? They went after his ass and sued him. And 2 years later, they both got $100K. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Think of the wigs that he just bought them.
Think of the wigs. No doubt about it.
Thank you, David Love, for the wigs.
Thank you for spreading that love. And now having to spread your money because your priorities are in the wrong fucking place.
So let's give the people something they can actually use instead of us monologuing for 30 minutes about our personal lives that doesn't matter to anybody else. So let's talk about a dad hack of the week that I saw on TikTok. Yes, TikTok, my favorite place in the whole world for everything. So this woman's name is Kelsey Pomeroy. I'm going to try to get her on the show, but she does a lot of like parenting content. Some of it's funny, some of it's very useful. Her thing, which I'm going to implement at our house and I will update you on, is this. When you're at the table for a meal, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you can only talk to me, the parent, if you're sitting at the table. If you get up and wander, fine. But you cannot wander into another room and say, hey, Dad, can I have... You get no response.
Yeah.
Now, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, I'm doing that because my kids cannot fucking sit down while they're eating a meal. They've got to be doing round off back handsprings as they're eating the chicken nuggets. So I am starting to do this. We started last night. And they were really pissed at it. We said, I can't hear you until you're sitting in your chair. And so I'm going to give it a week and I will report back in 2 weeks at our next episode if it's actually working. But yeah, we're implementing no talking to parents unless you're sitting at the table.
So that is not exactly the way that we have done it, but I definitely have kids who need to tap dance the entire time through meals. And I have definitely said, like, listen, you can leave the table, but if you are going to talk to us, I mean, this is exactly the same thing. You have to sit. But I will say, sometimes they do have that energy. And you just think, why are you constantly saying, sit down, sit down, sit down? You're rocking the boat. So, but the compromise I've made is that, one, also, there's no farting at the dinner table. You can learn to control it. You can fart all day long the rest of the time if you want, and I will let you do it at breakfast. And I will even let you stand up and tap dance for breakfast as long as you do eat. That is fine. But at dinner time, we are going to pretend to be civilized beings. You're not going to burp, you're not going to fart, and you're not going to tap dance. And yes, if you have to tap dance, you can go into the other room. That's fine. But also take your plate.
And it works? Dramatic pause. Pause.
It's, you know what, we've grown out of, no, we haven't grown out of needing to tap dance and stand around and stand on your table and squat on, or rather stand on your chair, squat at your chair, move around, I don't know. These dad hacks, this is all just to let you know that you're not the only one suffering under the same delusions that parenting is easy and goop is achievable.
Well, you know what is also not working?
Do tell me.
Our top 3 list.
Gaytriarchs top 3 list. 3, 2, 1. Excellent. If nothing else, we're really good at transitions.
We are good at transitions.
This week is top 3 things that keep you up at night. I have to say, I have thought about this more than just 15 minutes ago, and I am excited to hear what you have to say. But mine are, number 3, did Mark see me? Like when I was driving, when I was at the grocery store and I saw my friend Mark and I waved at him, but he didn't wave back. Like, did he see me or did he not? And then later I saw him inside the store. I saw him from across the aisle and I thought, should I text him? But like, why didn't he wave back? Like, did Mark see me?
This is really compelling content, Gavin.
Number 2. Why am I never invited everywhere? And is everybody else having fun without me? I mean, really, everybody else is having fun except for me. And this is why I don't go on social media, honestly. So is everybody else having fun? Why am I never invited anywhere? Number 1, is my teen going to yell at me when I wake her up in the morning? Is she just going to immediately be angry and yell at me? And by yelling, I'll even use her definition of yelling, which just means having a stern tone of voice. But is my teen going to yell at me? What about you? What keeps you up at night?
All right. Similarly to one of yours, and number 3 for me, is someone mad at me? I always assume
Just
somebody's mad at
someone.
me. Someone's mad at me.
You don't even specify it.
Nope,
I was
someone.
worried Mark was mad at me, but you're
No.
just someone.
It could be the guy who honked at me at the intersection. It could be my childhood friend from 5th grade who I haven't talked to. Are they still mad at me from
Since
the
6th
time,
grade.
whatever? Yep. Is someone mad at me? Number 2, this is in your wheelhouse, but it legitimately keeps me up at night. How can we possibly battle willful ignorance and cognitive dissonance?
What? That's
legitimately.
You have reached your SAT words for the week.
Yeah. We are Freaky Friday. We are switching bodies.
Okay.
I cognitive, like I watch these, Jordan Klepper silly Daily Show interviews with Trump people at Trump rallies, and I don't see it as comedy. I literally go, how
it's tragedy.
Not that how can we battle like opposing ideas or whatever. It's like, how do we battle willful ignorance, cognitive dissonance, not just like, oh, I'm dumb or I'm uneducated or I think differently than you. Willful ignorance. Okay, that's number 2.
All right.
Number 1, the thing that keeps me up at night, and my husband will laugh because he knows this is so fucking true, is that house I should have bought. I have almost bought 3. There are 3, but really there's 2 that for it doesn't matter why, we just didn't pull the trigger on. Yeah. And I think about those houses 4 times a day. And this was years ago, Gavin. I think about those. When I have to drive past them, my stomach is in knots. Like, I don't know why, but I'm like, we've missed the boat. We'll never get a house like that ever again because, the market's crazy. So number 1, the house I should have bought.
So what is next episode's topic?
I am so excited about this one. Ooh. It is really weird, but I don't know why. I was just inspired. What are your top 3 favorite movies starring a lesbian? So it's not a lesbian character. The actress has to be a lesbian. And it doesn't have to be the star, but they've got to feature a prominent role.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Can't wait. So we are so lucky today here at Gaytriarchs because our guest is nobody.
So my something great is we went camping this past weekend. And there's an asterisk on camping. And by camping, I mean, we went to a campground that has really nice cabins. Now, they're not like bougie. They are just like prison-style cots. Yeah, they're spiders. Prison-style cots, no air conditioning, but there is an attached bathroom, and there is heat if you need it. So we went because this campground does year-round camping activities. It's really cool. It's about an hour and a half from us, but it has themed weekends often in the summer. And one of the themed weekends is LGBTQIA family weekend. So it's gay families from wherever. And we were going to go to Family Week in P-Town, but it was so expensive and it was so far away. I just kept thinking, I can't be in a car for 8 hours with my 2 children. Like, I would die getting there. So we were looking for other things like this. We found this. So we went. It was so lovely. The campgrounds are awesome. Our kids were great. We met these other gay families who were super cool and we hung out with all weekend, and our kids started to become friends and we would eat dinner together every day. It was just, It was exactly kind of what you want in like building a gay family community where your kids are friendly and them saying, oh, like my dad's isn't a weird thing that kind of piques you. Like they can all say that. And it was lovely. And we did, hiking and played in the water and canoeing. And they had this big thing where you get on this, like basically a giant human slingshot. It shoots you out over the water. And
I want to do a giant human slingshot.
It was so,
although would I dislocate my back in?
Because you have to get one of those like harnesses that basically cut
not
up
the
circulation and
that you're familiar with, David.
Correct. And not that exactly, not those kind of harnesses. But like I was losing blood flow to my penis for a good hour afterwards, but it was totally worth it because it was so fun. But anyway, it was a great weekend, and it was the kids were awesome, and it was a rare moment where I was like, oh, this was actually kind of fun. Spending time with my family. It was actually kind of fun. We met the most amazing dads and moms and stuff. So anyway,
this was actually
family camp.
Kind of fun.
Yeah. That was my something great this week.
So on my end, I attended my PTO meeting last night for the middle school, and you were talking about your PTA, right? Last week. And I was just reminded, shout out to all the people who are too busy to do PTOs and PTAs and still do it, because this is the only time in your life, in like a 7-year span or whatever, that your kids don't mind if you're basically around. In high school, you're not around. I mean, the middle school PTO, you don't actually do anything on in the classroom, but you are committed to being there, and you get FaceTime with the principal, which is fantastic. And I am way too busy to do it. You're too busy to do it. Everybody in that room is too busy to do it, but we do it. And it is something great to just have that volunteer camaraderie, but then try not to complain about how tired and busy you are, because nobody wants to hear it. So my something great is like getting involved. PTOs, PTAs, right?
Nice.
And so that's our show. If you have any comments, suggestions, or general compliments, you can email us at GaytriarchsPodcast@gmail.com.
Or you can DM us on Instagram. We are at GaytriarchsPodcast. On the internet, David is at DavidFMVon everywhere, and Gavin is at Gavin Lodge on nothing.
Please leave us a glowing 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks, and we'll slingshot you next time on another episode of Gaytriarchs.